In 1899, a chemist patented a compound so effective at lifting stains that it would take the cleaning industry over a century to figure out how to sell it back to you for 20 times what it's actually worth. Right now, in your local supermarket, there's a $2 bag of white powder sitting on the bottom shelf, ignored, while the shelf above it charges $12 for a spray bottle that does the exact same job, because it contains the exact same chemical. Before they figure out how to rebrand this and quietly raise the price, I'm going to show you what's actually in that powder, why it works better than bleach, and why the people who clean bathrooms for a living, hotel housekeeping crews, hospital janitorial staff, restoration techs, have quietly been buying it in bulk for years, while everyone else pays retail for the same active ingredient wrapped in a prettier bottle. This is not a trick. This is not a Japanese secret. This is basic chemistry that got buried under 3 generations of marketing. And once you see it, you will never buy a name brand bathroom spray again. Here's who benefits from you not knowing this: the household cleaning products industry, a market worth well over $40 billion a year in the US alone, built on a simple trick. Take a cheap, generic, extremely effective compound, dilute it into a liquid, add fragrance and a brand name, and charge 10 to 20 times the raw material cost. The compound at the center of this video is sodium percarbonate. It's not exotic, it's not new. It's a white granular powder, sodium carbonate bonded with hydrogen peroxide. First synthesized in the late 1800s and patented for industrial bleaching use in the early 1900s. For most of the 20th century, it was a wholesale product, sold to laundries and industrial cleaners because it was cheap and it worked. It stayed largely out of consumer hands until manufacturers realized they could dissolve small amounts of it into liquid oxygen boosters and color-safe bleach alternatives, slap a brand name on it, and sell the same molecule at a massive markup. Here's the technical detail that proves it. Read the ingredient list on almost any premium oxygen action bathroom spray, laundry booster, or stain remover on the market. Look for sodium percarbonate or sodium carbonate peroxyhydrate. It's there. It's almost always there, usually diluted to somewhere between 3 and 10% concentration in a water-based solution, then sold by volume at a price per ounce that can run 20 to 30 times higher than buying the raw powder and mixing it yourself. That's not an accusation. That's arithmetic anyone can check by comparing the price per gram of the pure powder against the price per gram of active ingredient in the bottled version. Dealers didn't invent this trick, and neither did any single brand. The entire liquid cleaner aisle runs on it. People who clean bathrooms for a living figured this out decades ago, and most of them never went back to bottled spray. Restoration and remediation techs, the crews who get called in after water damage, mold, or heavy staining, use bulk sodium percarbonate as a standard tool because it does something bleach physically cannot do. It lifts stains out of porous surfaces instead of just masking them. Here's the mechanism, and this is the part cleaning brands will never explain on the label because it makes their diluted spray look ridiculous by comparison. When sodium percarbonate hits water, it breaks apart into sodium carbonate, washing soda, an alkaline mineral, and hydrogen peroxide. The alkaline sodium carbonate raises the pH of the water, which loosens mineral buildup, soap scum, and grime at a molecular level, breaking the bond between the stain and the surface it's stuck to. At the same time, the hydrogen peroxide releases oxygen as it decomposes, and those oxygen bubbles physically work their way under the loosened stain and lift it out of grout lines, out of the microscopic pores in porcelain, out of the pitted surface of an old bathtub. Chlorine bleach, by contrast, only oxidizes the color of a stain. It bleaches the pigment white so you can't see it anymore. The stain, the actual mineral or organic deposit, is often still physically there. That's why bleached grout goes gray again within weeks. You didn't remove anything, you just turned the color off temporarily. This is documented, verifiable chemistry. Sodium percarbonate's decomposition into sodium carbonate and hydrogen peroxide. And hydrogen peroxide's use as an oxidizing cleaning agent are both well established in industrial and cleaning chemistry literature. And the compound has been recognized by regulators, including the EPA's Safer Choice Program R, as a lower toxicity alternative to chlorine bleach for exactly this reason. This isn't a fringe theory. It's the same reason that professional carpet cleaners, tile restoration companies, and hospital sanitation departments favor oxygen-based cleaners over chlorine bleach for stain removal specifically, while still using chlorine separately in controlled amounts purely for disinfection. The other thing smart cleaners know, sodium percarbonate doesn't need scrubbing to work because the oxygen bubbles are doing the mechanical work your arm would otherwise have to do. That's the whole reason no scrubbing is possible here. It's not a gimmick, it's the actual chemistry of effervescence lifting the stain physically off the surface while you leave it alone. Think about where else you've seen this exact chemistry sold at a markup without anyone connecting the dots. Denture cleaning tablets, stain remover pods for laundry, carpet and upholstery, oxy sprays. Wood deck brighteners marketed for $80 a jug. Almost all of them lean on the same base reaction, an alkaline carbonate paired with a peroxide that releases oxygen on contact with water. Repackaged for a different room of the house, a different label, and a different price point every single time. Once you know the mechanism, you start seeing the same trick sold to you 5 separate times, under 5 separate brand names, as if a deck cleaner and a bathroom cleaner needed to be different products at all. There's also a reason this compound never became a household name the way Bleach did, and it isn't performance, it's shelf life and story. Chlorine bleach is a stable liquid that sits in a jug for years and requires no explanation. You pour it, it works, end of story, and it's been marketed that way since the mid-1900s. Sodium percarbonate is a dry powder that starts reacting the moment it hits water, which makes it a worse fit for a liquid spray bottle sitting on a shelf for a year. So companies quietly worked around that limitation by keeping the concentration in their bottled versions low enough to stay shelf stable, then charged you for water and stabilizers as if that were the premium part of the formula. You're not paying for stronger cleaning power in the bottled version. In a lot of cases, you're paying more for a weaker, pre-diluted version of the exact same active ingredient, because dilution is what makes it sit on a shelf without fizzing itself out in the container. Here's exactly what to buy and exactly how to use it. Look for pure sodium percarbonate, sold generically, often labeled simply as oxygen bleach powder, oxygen cleaner, or under a generic store brand. You do not need a name brand version. You are looking at the ingredient list, not the logo. A 1 to 2 pound bag typically runs $2 to $5. And because you're using a fraction of it per application, that bag will outlast a dozen bottles of the diluted spray version, which is where the real long-term savings show up. Not in one purchase, but in the fact that you stop paying for the marked up version ever again. For bathroom stains specifically, rust rings, hard water lines, soap scum buildup in grout, discoloration in an old porcelain tub or sink, mix roughly 2 to 3 tablespoons of the powder into about a cup of warm, not hot, water. Warm water speeds the reaction. Hot water can cause it to react too fast and lose potency before it reaches the stain. Stir until it's mostly dissolved. You'll see it start to fizz almost immediately. That's the hydrogen peroxide releasing oxygen, exactly as described. Pour or spread the mixture directly onto the stained surface, focusing on grout lines and the worst discoloration. Then, walk away. This is the step people get wrong. They scrub immediately out of habit, out of decades of being told, cleaning means elbow grease. Don't. Let it sit for 20 to 30 minutes for light staining, up to a full hour, or even overnight for heavy, years-old rust or mineral buildup. You'll see the fizzing slow down as the reaction completes. After it sits, rinse with warm water. For most stains, that's the entire process. No scrubbing pad, no bleach fumes, no gloves required for the mild formula, though sensitive skin should still avoid prolonged contact. For deeper grout staining, a soft brush after the soake, not before, will finish lifting anything the reaction alone didn't fully release, but you'll notice it takes a fraction of the effort it used to. For hard water rings specifically, the kind that build up around a bathtub waterline or inside a toilet bowl, make a slightly thicker paste instead of a liquid mix, roughly equal parts powder and water. Apply it directly to the ring and let it sit under a damp cloth or plastic wrap to keep it from drying out too fast for at least an hour before rinsing. One more thing, the bottled versions won't tell you. Sodium percarbonate is color safe and won't damage grout sealant or most bathroom finishes, the way repeated chlorine bleach exposure will over time. Bleach is corrosive to grout sealant and can degrade rubber seals in certain finishes with repeated use, which is a large part of why bathrooms that get bleached constantly start looking worse, not better, after a few years. A few mistakes to avoid, because they're the difference between this working in one application and needing 3. First, don't seal the mixture in an airtight container while it's actively fizzing. The pressure from released oxygen needs somewhere to go, so mix it in an open container and use it fresh, rather than trying to pre-batch a jug of it for later. Second, don't combine it with chlorine bleach, ever, for any reason. Mixing an oxygen-based cleaner with a chlorine-based one doesn't make a cleaner cleaner, it wastes both. And mixing bleach with other household chemicals in general is a habit worth breaking, regardless of what you're combining it with. Third, test an inconspicuous spot, first on colored grout, natural stone, or anything you're not sure about. Sodium percarbonate is color safe on most surfaces, but natural stone like marble or travertine can be sensitive to pH swings. So a small test patch takes 30 seconds and saves you a surface. For a tub or sink that hasn't been deep cleaned in years, the kind of buildup that's gone from a stain to a texture, don't expect a single application to finish the job, and don't take that as the method failing. Layered mineral and soap scum buildup that's been baking under hard water for years took years to form, and a single 30-minute soak lifts the newest layer, not necessarily all of it. Do a first pass, rinse, look at what's left. and do a second paste application focused only on the remaining discoloration. 2 applications, spaced a day apart on a genuinely neglected surface, will typically finish what 20 minutes of scrubbing with a name brand spray never touched. Because you're not fighting the stain, you're dissolving it in stages. For toilet bowl rings specifically, there's a shortcut worth knowing. Turn off the water supply valve, flush to drop the water level below the ring, then apply the paste directly to the exposed ring so it isn't diluted by standing water. Let it sit the full hour, then turn the water back on and flush. This one adjustment, controlling the water level before you apply anything, is the single biggest reason people report the toilet bowl version of this trick not working when they try it with a full bowl of standing water, diluting the paste before it ever touches the stain. None of this is complicated. None of this is secret chemistry locked away in a lab somewhere. It's a compound that's been sitting on the bottom shelf of every hardware store and supermarket in the country for decades, while the shelf above it gets the marketing budget, the shelf space, and your money. That's the trap. Not that the good product doesn't exist, it's sitting right there, but that it's packaged to look boring next to something with a brand name and a fragrance. So you grab the expensive one out of habit and never ask what's actually inside either bottle. You don't need the fragrance, you don't need the brand, you need the molecule, and now you know its name. Before this gets discovered by a marketing team somewhere and repackaged as a premium reveal at triple the price, buy the plain powder and stop paying for water and a logo. If this saved you from another $12 spray bottle, drop the exact stain you're planning to test this on in the comments. Rust ring, grout, hard water, all of it. I read everyone, and I'll tell you if your specific case needs a different ratio.